Hello, everyone. Welcome to the GLORIO Chat, the best anime podcast on the internet. To kick off this episode, I wanted to share something that I've been working very hard on this past week, or maybe past 2 days. I would like to perform a cover of the song Nina is trying to learn to play in episode 8 of Girls Band Cry for everyone.
Oh, wow.
I have my guitar here.
Oh my goodness.
I hope you're ready for this amazing performance. That's it.
Bravo.
That is the extent of my guitar ability. No, I'm going to find it very funny when, so if anybody doesn't know, she was learning how to play guitar in that episode, and that was what she was trying to do. I'm going to find it very funny when next week she's playing the super complicated, rhythm songs that they've been playing for their, their performances somehow or whatever. But anyway, we'll talk more about that show later. We've got a lot of anime to talk about as usual, but I'd like to introduce everybody first. I'm Joe. I am joined by Iro.
I'm still here. I'm not dead yet.
We're joined by G.
Everybody, it is with a heavy heart that I announce that the streak has been broken. Sadly, there has been no real news on the front lines of the Kendrick-Drake beef. There's basically nothing to report, and thus my only reason to look forward to this podcast has come to an end.
Well, it's been a fine 6 or 7 years, G. Thank you for your service. Yeah. I mean, it's over. Drake's dead.
I mean, yes, that's like, what else is there to say, right? Like, I mean, I don't even know, like everybody's like, I mean, okay, if you do want me to get into it a little bit, like, I don't interact with Drake fans much, thankfully, but I have definitely heard a bit of sentiment in maybe, shall we say, more mainstream listening audiences that are like, I don't know, Drake brought up some good points. I think Kendrick has to show receipts. And this is where I realize, oh my god, people don't know how rap beef works anymore. It's not a court case.
Yeah.
Kendrick doesn't got to show shit.
Yeah. There are people dancing in clubs to a song where Drake is being called a pedophile.
Yes, the war has been won.
The war is over.
Now that said, if Kendrick wants to release the 5 remaining diss tracks he claims he has, I mean, I'm all here for it.
The Drake diss album.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see if anything gets reignited, but I have a feeling it's over at this point. All right, and we are also joined by Artemis.
Hello, it is good to be here. I don't know that much about the rap beef, but I do watch Saturday Night Live, so I do know that Kendrick Lamar will at some point come for Michael J.
Oh, you know what? I saw that clip. Yes, yeah. That was very good.
That was good.
Yeah.
SNL still puts out a decent clip every now and then. Is that what I'm hearing here?
It's the finale. It's for the finale. They swap the two news anchors swap jokes, but they don't read each other's jokes beforehand, and they try to basically be as offensive for each other as humanly possible.
Okay.
Yeah. So so one of the jokes they made, one of the guys basically call Kendrick Lamar a bitch and start beef with him, which was pretty good. Anyway, so unfortunately, yes, that seems to be over for the time being, but who knows? That aside, we can now come back to being an anime podcast and talk about some anime. That is what we do here normally. And we could start with Artemis. I asked you what shows you were watching, and I was surprised to hear a couple of shows that you're still watching. that we're going to resurrect. And the first one we'll start, Bartender Glass of God. You've been sticking it out on that one.
Yeah, that one. So I actually enjoyed the first episode a lot. I know everyone was super down on it for, not bad reasons, but I enjoyed it because of how dumb it was. I enjoyed its unique idiocy. And I kind of stuck around for that. Occasionally the idiocy stops and I get bored. It really only works for me when it's being like just stupid.
Yeah.
And I don't think do I think it's being stupid on purpose? Probably not, which is a shame because it would, I think, actually elevate itself to a genuinely decent show if it was self-aware enough to be doing that.
Right.
And I just don't think it is. But every now and again still it dips into that, that like just outrageously absurd, unintentional comedy that does make it worthwhile still.
Mm-hmm.
Has there been any noteworthy recent examples of absurd things that have happened in the show?
Not really. Like nothing as good as the first episode. Just bits here and there. I honestly can't recall any off the top of my head, which probably does go to show that maybe I shouldn't still be watching at this point. But, at the same time, the season is nearly done, so I may as well finish it.
Right.
Yeah.
Now that I'm here.
I have read the Bartender manga since we last spoke about it, I believe. And
you completed it.
As far as I know, I have. And yeah, there's a lot of dumb shit in that manga. I don't know if in the anime yet, if still at Eden Hall or what. But
he's still there, and they're still trying to convince him to.
Okay, they're still pretty early on then,
and create the Glass of God for them.
Yeah, there's some really silly stuff later on that probably will not be covered in the anime. Like one of the other bartenders going to Hokkaido to find his disappeared father, who is now a street clown, etc.
All right. Well, that sounds like it might be worth actually sticking around for. If
that'll be like season 4.
Okay. All right.
That'll be way later. Okay.
Yeah. So
maybe it'll do like a flash forward for me in the final episode or something.
I assume it's still just like every cocktail has then some bizarro like shower thought wisdom, quote unquote, attached to it.
Complete with like character of the week, sad backstory.
Yeah.
Oh, his father hates him, but he still wants to be a bartender. Oh, that like redhead bartender is still doing her best to win the cocktail competition. Lacks confidence, etc., etc. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And let me show you how to move forward by making you this drink, and then
and giving a speech about it.
Yeah.
Sometime in the last 5 minutes of the show. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Artemis, did you watch the old anime? I forget if that ever came out.
I did, and that's kind of why I don't think I would have bothered with the new one. And I did like the old one, but I think it was just. It's been a long time, so maybe I'm misremembering, but I don't remember it being like this at all. I remember it being quote unquote hardcore slice of life, like completely episodic, no recurring characters beyond the bartender himself.
Right, that
very
is
like healing anime type.
Mm-hmm.
That is sort of the thing we've kind of kept like that. It kind of feels like that is everybody's collective memory of the first Bartender anime, and I think that is kind of maybe what is the thing that keeps coming up every time we talk about the new anime is everybody just kind of inevitably compares it to the old anime, right? And it's that. It continues to exist in that uncomfortable place of this new anime is probably more faithful to the manga, but does that make it better? And the answer kind of seems like a resounding no.
Yeah. Although, that being said, I wouldn't say this new one has that much rewatchability either, but I'm not yearning to go back and rewatch the old Bartender either. It was one of those things that you watched and then were like, oh, yeah, all right. And then you kind of never went back to. Or at least I never did.
No, definitely.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, it sounds like there. I feel like we were like kind of ruling the show out before, but perhaps there is like, I mean, it's not the worst thing going, right? There are some redeemable value here, right?
Yeah.
So, all right.
Well, what about this next one on the list? I'm real curious.
I think I was much more surprised to hear, Artemis, you were still watching Kaiju number 8.
No, so I'm not still watching it. I only just started watching it.
Oh, just...
It wasn't, so it wasn't one that I had on my general to watch list when the season started.
Okay.
For a few reasons. First of all, I don't really care about kaiju. I'm not like it's a Godzilla inspired, like loosely thing, right?
Sure.
To at least some degree.
Right.
And I think maybe in my entire life I've watched one of those movies to the end. Like it's just not, full respect. I just don't care.
Have you heard of Godzilla -1? No, I'm not.
Pacific Rim.
Yes, no, Pacific Rim was the one I watched, which I did like. It's a solid, it's a good one. Anyway, so and the other reason it wasn't on my list is because Crunchyroll was aggressively pushing it. And I have a track record of basically hating everything that Crunchyroll aggressively pushes.
I mean,
that
it
makes
is
sense.
it
is
the
Jump, right?
Yes, it is the big like profile Shonen Jump adaptation of this season.
Yeah, and I just don't with that for a variety of reasons. I probably won't get into.
I guess So I guess I'm curious what led you to it, and what do you think of it then?
So what led me to it is. My husband wanted to watch it, and I was like, yeah, okay.
Classic, yeah.
So I was like, sure. So I watched the first episode, and we both actually really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And I got into it. I'm not saying like it's the best show this season.
No. It's just so you've only watched the first episode, correct?
No, so I've watched 6 now. So I'm only one.
Okay,
so
okay.
The 7th released yesterday. I haven't seen yesterday's episode yet. But I'm basically caught up.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess I was curious because like, so as someone who has read the manga, the kind of reputation Kaiju number 8 has for like people who read too much Shonen Jump manga is like, wow, that was a really strong first chapter. Too bad about the rest of it.
Yeah. Well, so I do have reservations. I'm not saying I think it's going to be this good all the way through, but I will just say I like what I've seen so far, and I haven't read the manga, and I'm not going to ever read the manga because I'm just not a manga reader generally.
So I guess I have not kept up with the anime. I guess they are like probably up to like, is it like the first big fight against like the guy with the disc head? Like
so they finished their the entrance exam up to episode 6. They've done the entrance exam. They've done like basically a training montage when they're all they have been officially recruited, and they have been like I guess hired but still in training. So and they went through that, and they have started the first big fight, and they're like halfway through that.
Okay. So you're probably getting up to like. In fact, it might even be the episode you haven't watched yet. It probably has like the one.
It might
really
be. I
cool
haven't
moment from early Kaiju number 8 where like, because like the thing was kind of fun about Kaiju number 8 is like, it's a shonen anime, but like the protagonist has a very like kind of fun, weird power set, right? The whole like bio freak, armor suit or whatever. It's
right.
And there's like a lot of fun potential to it, right? Like I don't know if like it's been a while since I've read the early chapters. Like has he started showing like kind of the weirder stuff he can do with the kaiju form yet, or
define weird?
Like,
I mean,
like I don't know, turn his arms into things that are not his arms.
Oh yeah, kind of. It's been sort of,
okay.
Not fully, but yeah. I think honestly the main reason I like this is because going into it, judging by just the images, the stills that I saw and the synopsis, I thought it was going to be super serious.
Oh, sure.
And like dramatic death. Like I
It's
thought it was
definitely
going to
not
be
that.
I thought it was going to be a cross between like
Yeah.
Parasite, Attack on Titan,
Oh, sure.
but with Godzilla like
Yeah.
beasts kind of thing.
It's definitely
You know
much
what I
more
mean?
lighthearted, though. Yeah.
And the honestly the main reason I'm enjoying it is its comedic value. I think
Okay.
I don't know about the manga, but I think the anime's comedic timing is spot on. I think it does that really well, and it's by far my favorite aspect
Sure.
of the show
I mean,
overall.
I definitely noticed in the first like couple of episodes, like when me and Ira were still watching it, that like a lot of the character animation had a very like kind of old school anime looseness to them.
Yeah,
Right.
it has an old school. It's production IG, right?
Yeah.
I feel like it is kind of more old school production IG, where just the kind of movements and the way that that kind of old school like early to mid 2000s action thing where the characters still go chibi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of one of the things we noticed is like, yeah, it's like, oh, this is still the kind of anime that does like the big sweat drops and chibi faces.
And I don't think that would work for every anime. Like I don't want every anime to be like that, but it works in this case.
Sure.
I think the animation director worked on a lot of mid-aughts shonen like Naruto and Bleach and stuff. Like
so a veteran
deep in the minds of Naruto Shippuden, right? Like Yu Yu Hakusho. So
yeah,
those sorts of sensibilities or something that they're probably used to doing.
Yeah, and also the show does look really good. Aside from the types of visuals you see, like just the movements are very fluid. It looks like seamless without being jarringly. You know how some anime look too good, and you're like, this is taking me out because it's not even, it's barely even anime anymore. It's kind of, you know what I mean? It's
sort of art house animation projects.
Yeah, it's giving me anime, but it looks really, really good.
Sure, yeah.
If you care about music, it's some interesting choices.
Soundtrack
that's what I remember. That's what I remember from the first 2 episodes. Is like the soundtrack was insane.
So yeah, it wasn't on my radar at all.
Sure.
I am scared that it will get super serious and that we're going to get the dramatic character deaths and the last minute before he passes speech and stuff like that.
I think the thing I would say about Kaiju number 8 is it never really goes in that direction. I think kind of the reason why I would say the broader reason why people like myself fell off Kaiju number 8 is more I think it's like if you engage with a lot of shonen on the regular, like there's a bit of that feeling that Kaiju number 8 isn't really adding much to the pool, I guess, is kind of the feeling. So, you know, and again, it's like that's for those of us who are like, I don't know, reading like 4 of these serial running shonen at any given moment, right? I think taken on its own, I suspect Kaiju number 8 probably stands pretty well in a vacuum, like especially if you don't like, you know, if you're not like inundated with this genre, you know what I mean? Like,
right. And I get that anime in general is, but I'm not, because I just don't watch those shows because I know I don't care for them. And I'm not saying that dismissively for a change. I'm not like, oh, this genre sucks or like Shonen Jump. Like that's generally speaking, it's not the type of show that appeals to me, and so I don't watch them. And so because I am more, I guess, in a vacuum, then I get why the show works more for me than it might for someone who is constantly watching those types of genres,
right?
And that specific demographic.
Yeah, I think that's a fair case to make. I will definitely say, like, I think for us, it's like some of the disappointment with Kaiju number 8 was also just like, oh, there's a lot of fun stuff here, right? Like, oh, like the idea of like the protagonist is like 32 years old and he works like a day job, right? Like disassembling kaiju corpses, right? And you know, it's shonen, right? So inevitably he gets superpowers and, you know,
becomes a fight time,
you know, but I actually really loved a lot of the vibes of that first episode, right? The kind of like blue collar daily living kind of feel to it. I looked it up. Turns out a lot of the backgrounds and I was like, that explains a lot, actually. a lot of the background art in Kaiju number 8 is being handled by the same person who did the backgrounds for Dorohedoro, the anime.
Yeah, that does make sense.
So it kind of has that like run down, grimy feel to it, which I think is just like a tone that I really like to see in anime, and it kind of goes away after he stops, working that job. So, but no, that's cool. Yeah, I suspect that season 1 of Kaiju number 8 will probably have some pretty like fun spectacle stuff going on. So, if nothing else, there's definitely that to look forward to.
Yeah. But yeah, it's good. I'm enjoying it. I don't even know if I have a show of the season, because I don't know if this season is worthy of having one.
Oh, I think there might be some shit.
I don't know. I don't know.
You're not watching girls band cry, so
Well, that's what I'm hearing. That is what I'm hearing.
And hey, we always have Dungeon Meshi.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. But it's solid. I'm enjoying it. It's a good show to watch in company as well. Like it's a very good show to watch with a friend.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. It's probably fun to experience some of the big moments together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of when I like randomly watched the first 2 seasons of Jujutsu Kaisen, like my one shonen anime I watch every 10 years.
Yeah.
And I was enjoying that similarly for the comedic value more than for the perhaps for the act. Well, the action was also really cool,
there's probably a good like argument to be made that the healthiest way to experience shonen is just to like watch one every like 3 to 5 years, like
just pick one. Yeah.
You don't become
you don't get burnt out on it.
Yeah, you don't become deeply burnt out and cynical on the genre like me and Iro, where it's like oh boy, wow, a cool girl showed up. I wonder how many episodes before she gets horribly physically brutalized to up the stakes and motivate the male hero.
That or just but it gets really good after insert.
Yeah, I was going to say,
but I already watched 100 episodes.
Would you rather be jaded regarding shonen anime, or would you rather be a One Piece sicko? Right, like who thinks One Piece is the greatest anime?
That was me and Naruto back in college. Someone gives you Naruto, you finally cave and watch it.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, this is cool. Rock Lee's so cool.
No, I watched I think exactly 100 episodes. And was like, oh no, but you didn't get to the part where, and I'm like, shut up. I'm not watching it. Go away. Like if you like, the 3 episode rule is one thing, but if you have to go 100 episodes and you're still saying, I promise it gets good after, like, there's a problem with your show.
Yeah, all of you Hawk shows 112 episodes, or it's like,
I mean, we here on the Glitter Chat complain a lot about how a lot of anime these days are too short, but you could also be too long.
I will take the one core show. Thank you.
I don't think we want to go back to those. I don't think we want to go back to those days when filler episode was a derogatory term, right?
Jel, I'm just saying, Iro and I are watching 2 26-episode anime right now, and it could be nostalgia. It could just be we're being inundated with all these like 13-episode shows that are way too rushed. But watching a 26-episode anime feels like a breath of fresh air. It's like, man, this is what anime is supposed to be. Like,
I feel like that's usually the sweet spot, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's move on to another show we're bringing back for the moment and catch up on. You guys were watching more Sandland.
So we're bringing it up now because we just finished like the story that was covered in the film release of Sandland.
Right,
like which
is the stuff that's actually adapted from the manga,
the original Toriyama manga, yes. And the kind of the second half of Sandland that we're about to start watching is the introduction of the kind of new original plot that Toriyama's involvement with. Rest in peace. We're not sure how heavily it's Toriyama, so it could be
probably not a whole lot.
Yeah, it could be anything from smoked a cigarette while reading the script to he went through a single character to he'd already forgotten that he wrote Sandland. God, look, rest in
He
peace.
he
Toriyama
made
was
one
dope, but also
one cool tank.
yeah, like Toriyama like was the platonic ideal of what it means to sell out, you know? Just I don't know, man. I'm here to get that paycheck.
The rare sellout complimentary.
Yeah, but
I'm reading they have him credited as like conceptualized the new arc story, but that doesn't mean anything.
Fucking nothing.
That's like, hey, what do we do for the rest of Sandland?
Dude, no, I now know exactly how we got to where we are with this second part of Sandland, right? Is they're like, I don't know, Toriyama, do you have any ideas for like what you would do if you did a Sandland 2? Like, I don't know, a new land. So, anyways, yeah, it's like to speak to Sandland itself. It's a pretty good adaptation of the manga. The thing that kind of we said about it before holds true in that Sandland is not really reinventing the wheel. It's not necessarily even going to give you the sort of like Dragon Ball-esque spectacle that you associate with Toriyama's name. It's just a really, in many ways, it's a lot of like Toriyama's original strengths. It's a fun, adventurous romp, you know. It doesn't overstay its welcome. The characters are simple but well defined, you know. And you know, in Toriyama like fashion, it kind of has like, you know, a sort, you know, a kind of interesting moral, I guess, in the end, you know, like or has some interesting like narrative like meat to work with, but doesn't like linger on it too much. You know, it's you know, it's bunch of cool little guys going on an adventure, and they stop the bad guy, and everybody lives happily ever after. And you know, it is that thing that I will say, like again, that like would I, in the world where Toriyama was still with us, would I have bothered to watch Sandland? I'm not 100% sure, but like it does feel good to like just linger in one of his worlds, you know. Maybe for the last time, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Ira, what did you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's been quite a long time since I've read the manga, but also it's something that like I still sort of remember. Yeah, it's fun. You know, it's Toriyama, and not well, like you said, like sort of his sensibilities that don't necessarily get a lot of attention in the more mainstream, you know, goofy. You got your goofy little guys, like some jokes that he does. You got your tanks, and just kind of more wacky stuff that is not what people remember compared to Kamehameha. And so,
I feel like at least internationally, a lot of Toriyama's legacy is Dragon Ball Z, and specifically like the fighting, right?
Yeah, right.
Where there's most of Toriyama's work is a lot more kind of goofy, lighthearted stuff, right?
Yeah.
So, it's interesting.
So it's fun to see some of that stuff.
Yeah, it's like, you know, like Toriyama's art, his character designs, they're just so, I mean, unique, truly, right? Like, you know, despite the fact that Toriyama became the template to be copied, like, nobody really, in a weird roundabout way, I feel like the only successor to Toriyama's sensibilities, and maybe it's actually not that surprising at all, is One Piece, right? Like, the sort of goofier shonen with goofier character designs, right, that are not traditional anime cool.
Right.
But yeah, and so the last episode we watched, episode 7, sort of sets up the new arc, which I think is meant to tie into the video game that came out recently, where we find out that you know, there's another nation called Forestland, and they've been taken over by an even newer, more powerful villain. The villain that was defeated in this arc was nothing in comparison to the newer, even stronger villain.
He was keeping them in check.
The Z Warriors, I mean, Beelzebub and Sheriff Rao will have to have to prepare for this even bigger, stronger fight up ahead. It's
right. It's funny, like we were talking about this while we were watching, and it's like Sandland, the original, is this small self-contained thing where every element of the story and the world building is just built to prop up Sandland, which ends right here. And so to have stuff happening afterwards where these same characters are like, oh yeah, forest land just over the mountains here where it's lush and green and they have tons of water, where everything is totally different. Oh yeah, we might go to war with them soon and stuff. And it's like, all of this was apparently happening during the decades of desertification.
Yeah.
Just nobody talked about it, right?
It's the very goofy thing where this actually maybe feels truly authentically Toriyama of
Goku's defeated Ma Jr., and now Goku's brother is here, and he's an alien, and Goku's an alien.
And then Goku beats his brother, and then his brother says, actually, I was the weakest of the aliens.
Yes.
Two way stronger aliens will be showing up in 3 chapters.
Actually, Ma Jr.'s not a demon, he's another alien.
It's very like Toriyama's seat of the riding by the seat of your pants kind of situation. And I mean, again, the show ends in like 6 episodes, so we'll watch it. But it's
it's goofy. It's just
goofy,
silly,
right? Because like it's so clearly a plot line, like just clumsily welded onto a story that was never meant to support more than its own self-contained narrative.
Yeah,
right. Well. It sounds like you're having a little fun with it, at least, even if it's maybe not the
it's all right
best thing out there.
Yeah, I mean it's very it's very pleasant to watch. But yes, I would say very very baseline. The highs are not very high, but the lows are not very low either. So
right,
yeah,
just a decent time. All right, well, I guess we'll see how the anime original, is that we call it arc goes.
Yep.
Are they going to rename it Forest Land?
I don't think so.
Second part. Yeah. All right. So we'll check on that later. Okay. Getting back into our regularly scheduled shows, let's talk about Sound Euphonium Season 3. I got to give the show credit. They kind of sucked me back in a little bit with some of the band drama in these upcoming episodes. I will, but before we get into the drama, the first of these 2 episodes, episode 7, is kind of like they get their entire 3 days off for the whole summer where they don't have to practice.
Man.
And so they sneak in a break from the band drama, including, of course, you got to fit in the pool episode.
Umida.
And just masterclass in Yuri baiting. I like the the 2 main girls, Kumiko and Reina. Not only do they wear matching swimsuits, but that's
a choice.
They like, how would I explain it? They mix and match the tops and bottoms.
Right, yeah.
Like, I'll post a picture in chat.
No, I mean, I do get it. Like, that is
yeah.
That is
just
oh wow,
player 1 and player 2.
Yeah. I didn't expect the swimsuit colors to be so contrasting, but
yep.
Well, no, we're talking about these are the same color.
Oh god, it is like a white gold black kind of situation, isn't it?
But it's very funny because one of the other characters notices, and they say something to the effect of, oh, I guess you guys switch top and bottom or something. And I'm like, they know exactly what they're doing. Anyway, I found that very entertaining. Also, they had a bit where they're like, hey, maybe we should, it was a very relatable bit where like you invite a couple people to go do something and you think it's going to be like 3 or 4 people, but then like they invite a bunch of people and before you know it's ballooned out of control where you've got a bunch of people going to the pool. Anyway, but they're like, hey, maybe we should invite Tsukamoto, who is like her Kumiko's ex-boyfriend, right? And she's like, nah, I'm good. Don't
invite him.
Kid can't catch a break. But anyway, what I did like was they've been building up this one girl who is like she is also a senior, but she just transferred in this year to the school, so she has not been here the entire. She's a new character to the show, right?
Okay.
And they're kind of implying like it's like the main drama, like I explained last episode. The main drama of the show is like people basically competing to get into the competition band because there's only so many seats, right? Like, and you don't need like 5 euphoniums in one band, right? So,
Right.
so somebody has to get cut.
It's the idea that there are even 5 euphoniums in a high school band is comical to me, but
yeah, and I don't. There's not actually 5, but more than you need in one band, right? And and you know, just apply that to every other instrument in the band, right? Most of them have more people than they need. So the main source of drama is, you know, do you put in the beloved older senpais, or do you put in the younger kids who might actually be better? You know, and it's the, you know, are we playing to win, or are we playing, you know, just for fun? And they always decide that they're going to play to win nationals. So
that's what everybody always says.
People, and, right, until people start getting cut, right?
We're gonna make it to Space Budokan.
So they kind of flip this with this girl coming in who's a senior, and she's like, well, I haven't been here this whole time. I don't want to take anybody's seat, even though she knows, and it's implied that she's probably the best euphonium player.
But I am the best. I'm here to shake up all your social dynamics.
And I'm like, and I was quite, and you know, like you can kind of see where they're going with it. And I was just kind of curious whether they were going to actually go for it, and they do in this latest episode, where they kind of almost spin her into the antagonist now, because she has, you know, she keeps saying to Kumiko throughout the show, like, are you sure you really want me to compete? Because I'm more than happy to just sit out or whatever. I don't want to like mess up what you guys have going. And, you know, Kumiko is like, no, we play to win. If you're better, then you'll be better. And it kind of boils over in this episode where this new girl actually kind of says what she's thinking of, like, you know, I don't want to take your spot. And there's a good bit where Kumiko actually blows up. Like, Kumiko usually doesn't get angry. Like, she's a pretty chill person. She's, you know, main character, and she kind of like blows up, like, you know, bitch, you think you're going to audition and win automatically just because you auditioned? What are you saying to me, right? Like,
right?
Because she's like, oh, well, if I audition, then I'm going to get the part or whatever. And she's like, don't talk to me like that, right? So, and they eventually kind of work it out, but yeah, they do go for it, where she's like, okay, well, I'm going to audition, and she not only gets so there's actually like 3 euphonium players, and she auditions. She gets to be one of the 2 of them. So the third girl is like Kumiko's like little like assistant girl or whatever, and she's mad because she now gets cut. And they also decide that this new girl is going to get to play the solo.
Whoa!
In the solo group. And this whole time they've been building up how Kumiko is looking forward to playing the solo part with Reina, and now shock and drama as you know, the new girl is taking that spot now. So
I mean, I will say this: the way you were describing this really does sound true to the kind of like
teen drama,
mean personal drama that happens, right? And like, yes, and in a lot of ways, this is what happens when you decide that you're playing for reals instead of playing for fun, right? Like,
yep.
You know, like this is like if you are committed to this idea that like, hey, we are going to do this for real, which means we're going to pick the best of the best, like. The sort of unspoken implication is you got to check your feelings at the door, right? And it definitely makes me now realize, because I definitely will say for years, because I didn't hear this term until anime started using it, of the term light music club. And I was always like, what the fuck is a light music club? Why is it not just a music club? And I guess... Is that what's going on? Is light music club implies we are not going to nationals?
I think it's different instruments too
Sure,
yeah, because it's
yeah,
like
just
compared to like like it's an orchestra band versus a like
fair
rock
enough.
band, right?
I think the like technical difference, at least as far as like actual Japanese school clubs go, is that they're not setting out to create a band that's going to go professional.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, that
I
makes
think
sense.
They're just playing music.
So just people who want
they're
to play
playing
music
music.
for fun.
It's not like they're not going to form an official band. They're not trying to eventually make money from it. Yeah.
Okay.
So there is some.
I think don't
So there is
take my word.
there's some of what you're saying there, G, where it's like, okay, it's the Smash Brothers playing for fun or for glory, right?
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
And I think also with like music clubs, like real life ones, that they kind of invite beginners too, so they're not all going to be like seasoned players of whatever instrument.
Right.
It's like supposed to be like like a safe space for beginner people who just want to get
Okay.
into music.
Yeah, they so like in this one, so they actually do have some beginners coming in, but they're like already know they're not going to be in the competition, right? They're just kind of learning or whatever. So, so I guess I wasn't entirely sure if they were really gonna like go for it on this angle, and they did, which I appreciated. And I'm kind of back in. It was always like I always really liked the band drama in the show. Like a lot of that was done well in past seasons, and I thought they were kind of out of angles to approach it.
A lot of band drama this season, huh?
Oh yeah, we'll get into that in the next show for sure. But yeah. So I was enjoying that part of it. And they continue to also mix in. I didn't go to college, so I don't know how this works. But how late can you decide to go to college in your school year?
Well,
is that like
if you're talking about like going directly from high school to college uninterrupted?
Yeah,
you do need to be. You probably need.
I'm assuming there are deadlines to these things.
Yes. You at least here in America, or at least whatever. Like you are generally you should seriously be like sending in applications within like 6 months of graduation, I'd say.
Yeah.
Like you were not putting that off till like graduation day or something.
Yeah. So I don't know how much time has passed in the school year yet, but some time has passed apparently, and Kumiko still has not decided if she's going to college or not. I'm like, can you wait this long?
I don't know. Maybe it's different with Japan, or maybe like it depends on the college, right? Like, of course, you're talking like private school versus like public university or whatever. Like, I'm sure that stuff also like.
And I mean, I guess you don't have to go like immediately after you graduate either. But
yeah.
Typically, that's what people would do, right? But yeah. But so they're kind of leaning into that angle a little bit more too, to give us breaks from the band drama, and I'm actually starting to enjoy it more than I was expecting. I think, but even so, it still kind of feels like we're remixing some things, and a remix can sound good sometimes, but even so, it's still a lot of the similar territory. So anyway. I'm enjoying it though.
No, so. I mean, it sounds like, that those elements sound the most interesting to me. It seems like it is worth it if you have stuck with it this long.
Yeah, finish the story. Let's finish the fight here. Exactly. So, all right. So we've already touched on the band drama.
Mm-hmm.
I've already played a song from the show, so let's talk about song and quote marks. Let's talk about Girls Band Cry.
Man.
Man.
These last couple episodes, man, they've been pretty heavy.
Yeah, let's start with the first one.
Sure, episode 7. Yeah. So the road trip.
Yes, the girls go on a road trip to play a show, which was very good.
Yeah, they need to. They also need to decide on a name for their band, which they still haven't figured out yet. Yeah,
so they're the road trip bits are very good. I got some great screenshots of them being annoyed in the car.
Yeah.
And so I mean, there's a bunch of things that happen. They meet. Was her name Mine, the girl with the glasses, or the lady with the glasses? She was a
yes,
grown ass
Mine,
woman.
I believe.
Yeah, who was like. I think this was one of the things you were getting into, G, with the.
Yeah.
She very much starts leaning into the how long do you stick with your creative endeavor in life?
Yeah. Yeah, kind of like a big.
Don't even worry about this one.
So a big theme of episode 7 overall is like, what is the worth of your convictions, essentially? Because like it starts off as we got to come up with a name for our band, haha. Like we're so like flying by the seat of our pants, we haven't even thought of that, and that kind of ties into, well, once you pick a name, you're kind of committed to like, oh, like this is a real ass band, huh? And then Nina's older sister, visits Nina before the road trip, right? And Nina's sister kind of lays into Nina pretty frankly about like, hey, you made a big speech about how you were gonna run away from home and make it on your own, and they send your grades back to our house, right? We've seen that you are clearly not taking your studies like seriously, so like, what are you actually committing to here? Like,
right. Because Nina's been trying to go to college.
Right. So she's balancing cram school with the band stuff. And, obviously, hey, guess what? We spent a lot more time in this show watching Nina hang out at the band, right? So
I don't know if we've ever seen her school.
I think we've seen a couple shots of her like falling asleep.
Oh, right. When she was trying to like the one time when she was trying to sell the tickets.
Yeah,
I think that's the only time I can remember.
And,
but that was in service to the band.
Right. And so it kind of already leaves this idea in mind that like, are you for real about this? Which, yeah, as you said, then ties into them meeting Mine, who's like an old, like, not a bandmate, but like a peer of Momoka's, I guess, right? Like played music.
She said they had met because she was like, she had opened for Diamond Dust or something like that.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And like, and then they start talking there about like, yeah, so how many failures can you endure as a working creative?
Yeah.
Before you realize you have to throw in the towel, right? Like,
how much time can go by? Right.
Exactly. Also, how much time and what are your like personal circumstances? It's a very frank conversation about it's like the first time you fail, it's usually not easy. I mean, I have failed many times in my career, so it is easy to look back on the first and go, well, like it probably just didn't go in my favor, right? The circumstances didn't break even for me or whatever, right? It's a luck of the draw, right? But when you start failing repeatedly, you start to then ask yourself, am I the problem? Is it a skill issue, as they say?
Right, it's a skill. Right.
Am like, how many times can I blame external circumstances before it, doesn't really feel believable anymore?
Yeah.
And then this ties into Momoka, of course, who kind of announces abruptly halfway through this episode, oh, by the way, after this performance, I'm quitting the band, right? That, that even she is not like, she doesn't really even have faith in it anymore,
Yeah, because she says she at some point, I don't remember if it was this episode. I think it was in this episode where she's like, I can't do it again, right? Like,
yeah, basically, like
she's already been, and she doesn't feel like she can go through it again. Yeah,
yeah,
and I mean, and with Mine, like she is. They don't say how old she is, but you get the impression that she's older than the other girls. Like she's a grown ass woman, and she's still kind of hanging in there, like not super popular, right? She's still like kind of opening up, like an opening act type of band, or well, she's kind of playing solo, but and I mean, Nina talks to her about it, and she's like, yeah, I thought about maybe I could just keep playing for fun and go be a teacher or something, right? Like, and a lot of big questions.
Mm-hmm.
Her was interesting. Her story made me think of this this guy I met at my last job when I was working as a graphic designer. And he was a musician. I don't want to say his name because I think his music is kind of bad, but he was nicest guy in the world though. And he came in. So last job, I was working as a graphic designer, and this is like about 20 years ago, right? And he came in. He was, I don't know how old he is, but my guess is he was probably 30ish, in his 30s at that point. And he knew my boss, the owner of the shop I worked for, because he was still working as a waiter at their favorite restaurant in his 30s. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but typically, you're at that stage of your life, you're looking for other things to be doing, right?
Yeah.
But he was doing that in support of trying to continue his music career, which he had been doing for some time at this point. With
that is a pretty classic story. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometime at this point, 10 years or whatever, with minimal success. And, he came in and he was the nicest guy in the world. And I got to design a album cover for him, and he was, so nice. He was very happy about it. I remember he was like, he saw the design. He was like, "Oh man, it's like I'm going to be like on Capitol Records now or something." I'm like,
"Oh, that's
this poor guy.
Yeah,
he's so nice, but it's yeah." And so I thought a lot about him when I was watching this, and I looked him up.
Oh, word?
This week,
yeah,
to see if I could find him, and dude's still going.
Hey, you know what?
He just played it. He just played a show, like a week or two ago. Still got a band going. He's still trucking along with it.
Look, man. And, honestly, I respect it. I do. Like, I think
good for him.
Yeah. It is.
And the economy the way it is, might as well keep going.
Honestly,
like.
It's not.
But
like else is going to be that much better. But
right. I mean, he's got to be like. I mean, based on my guess, he's got to be like 50.
Yeah,
like,
I think it's
in
like
his 50s now, and he's still trucking along.
Yeah, and I think on some of that, that's kind of what this episode of Girls Band Cry is getting at. Is like, how much does this mean to you? Like, how much does doing this thing like matter to your fundamental reason to exist, right? And the kind of thing we get with Nina is she kind of finally like finds her conviction, right? She realizes, I have to do this. I have to do music. I have to sing because I am filled with so much emotion, so much self-loathing and fury and rage at the world. Like, I am filled with so much like painful emotion that I absolutely must express it. Like, it is the fundamental reason for my being, right? And so she announces she's dropping out of school, which does not make Momoko happy. And that kind of leads into episode 8, right, where Momoko and Nina have another fight in a public venue.
This is just their thing now, where they fight in public places. Yeah,
just causing a scene while Subaru like tries to run interference.
Yep.
It's very good, right? Just like fighting in this like. What was it, like this food
Denny's
court or something? Yeah,
just like family restaurant, right?
Yeah,
what they call them.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. Just like Momoko's like, she's mad that Nina's announcing something this rash, and of course Nina is like, basically at this point asking Momoko why she's such a coward, right?
Yeah, because Momoko. So, I personally find Momoko very relatable in the
definitely very relatable.
Running away from any type of adversity or conflict. But I mean, from her perspective, I mean, it's very easy to. I think it's a lot easier to see Nina's flaws, but in this section, we are exposing Momoko basically of like you gotta it's not even that Momoko at least is claiming to not want to be in a pro band anymore. It's like she's not making a decision, right? Like it's
like the thing they kind of do a good job of with this 8th episode is like Momoka's not like trying to get out of the band stuff because of like some like she dresses it up as world-weary cynicism, right? And that's probably an aspect of it, but like they kind of really dig deep into her character this week, and it's like now some of this is also just fear, right? It's just straight up fear of being hurt again, right? Like to form a band, to open yourself to other people, to try this thing again is to inherently make yourself vulnerable, right? And we kind of get the whole thing of like, speaking of, you know, whether you go to college or not, also maybe guilt, right? Because we find out that Momoka is the one who convinced the rest of her bandmates to drop out of high school to form Diamond Dust. I mean, Momoka is the one who told the rest of them it'll be fine. Like we'll figure it out.
We get the hand animated flashback.
Yeah, when they're like, you know, they're K-On! Days, right? Yeah, you know, like, you know, just a bunch of idealistic schoolgirls who are going to go play at Budokan, right? And knowing what happens to Diamond Dust, you can't help but like watch this very idealistic, happy Momoka and kind of feel this like great sense of like guilt and pain, right? Of like, oh god, she convinced 3 other people to drop out of school for this band.
Yep.
And then she's the one who bailed on them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, great because it's great because I feel like, and I think I've said this before, but I feel like other band stories that take this angle make the issues very black and white. Like Diamond Dust would be the bad guys here, right? Like in other band stories. And they do such a good job of making it more nuanced than that. Like you can understand why Momoka feels the way she does about it. And
yeah, exactly. But like, you kind of get why Diamond Dust has gone the path they have gone, right? I mean,
right? Yes, and that too.
Like, Momoka literally makes a speech about how I don't want us to have any escape routes. Like, I don't want us to take a gap year. I don't want us to I don't want us to go to college. I don't want us to even finish high school, right? Because if we do
all things that the other members suggested, yes.
If we do those things, we'll always have an out. We'll always consider dropping the band if we have an escape route. I want to burn the boats, is essentially what she's saying. And so they burn the boats, and then Momoka still jumps in the river and swims away. Like, in many ways, it's kind of like it's a pretty damning indictment of who she is.
Yeah,
like the rest of Diamond Dust stuck it out. They sold out. They became a conventionally commercial idol band because, hey, guess what? You're right, Momoka. We did burn the boats. We cut off all the escape routes, so this is all we have left. You know.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's really complex and really hard-hitting take on a lot of like this kind of stuff about like what it means to be a creative. And yet again, like it's so good because like at the end, right, we kind of get the whole like essentially Momoka's like projecting onto Nina, right? Because Nina also wants to drop out of school, right? And Momoka's like, you know,
don't be like me or whatever. Yeah.
Softly caressing Nina's face while saying, like, I don't want you to go down this path, right? I don't want you to, like, you know, break the same way I broke, to which Nina, like, really angrily retorts, like, don't project your problems onto me. I'm not your dark mirror. Like, I'm my own person, and I'm gonna fucking try this music thing. You know?
Yeah. They finally kind of have their moment where they finally understand each other, I guess. Or
yeah. By the way, this is all happening as they are running away from a Diamond Dust concert that they have.
I'm not clear if they were supposed. I'm not clear if they were supposed to be there or not.
It seems like Momoka probably got like back. Backstage
pass or something. I mean,
but you know, she was an original vocalist. I don't know, maybe she knows people at the venue.
Knew some people that will leave the door open for her. Yeah.
which leads to Momoka. It's so funny. So like the Diamond Dust members catch sight of Momoka and want to go after her to confront her. And she's literally like, "Cheese it, gang!" and like jumps into her truck to drive away, leaving Nina behind.
Yeah, she will avoid conflict at all costs.
Right.
Yeah,
It's really good. But it kind of like works out in the sense that like no, they don't actually really confront each other. Hell, they don't even really have a moment of like reconciliation. Right? It's just like the other Diamond Dust members are basically just like, we don't blame you for what you did, but we're going to keep going down this path, like,
yeah,
like, not, it's a pretty refreshing take on this stuff, right? Where like, yeah, again, Diamond Dust would, I think in a traditional show kind of be centered as the villain, and here it's kind of a more nuanced take on it.
Yeah. The only like, character that I feel like is being set up as a villain, but probably won't be in some capacity, is the new lead vocalist for Diamond Dust, who is implied to be the girl that was like bullying Nina in school,
Nina
right?
In high school, yes.
Which we got that whole backstory, which you kind of understand why Nina ran away from all that hot mess with her family and everything.
Yeah,
but
I do. I mean, it's like, yeah, I didn't even get into that part, but it's like I really do appreciate like what Nina is trying to communicate to Momoka, that like, your music gave me so much meaning, right? Like your craft like gave me a sense of purpose, right? Like, don't just like throw that away, right? Like, it wasn't for nothing, right? Like, but yeah, they're definitely setting up probably some further drama down the line. We'll see how that goes, but
yeah, I have a feeling that'll be not quite what it seems, but we'll see.
Should we talk about like the last 3 minutes of this episode?
The like, confession scene?
Yeah, straight up, where it, I mean, is it Yuri baiting if she is just
speaking of Yuri bait?
I don't know. I mean, I think being like realistic, I suspect this is probably going to be a case of a heightened emotions situation, right? Like,
yeah,
but
I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, but Nina does say pretty unambiguously, like, "I love you," and Momoka's like, "What do you mean by that?" And Nina's like, "It's a confession."
So that almost exact language was used in an episode of Sound Euphonium season 1.
Damn it! We're just it's all
playing the hit at the
end. She literally says, I love you. This is a confession of love. But
if
different writers.
Yeah,
I'm just saying. I've been burned before.
Fair enough. I do not.
I'll believe it when I see it.
I do not watch a lot of Yuri bait, so I have never known like how explicit the actual language was. Right, like the closest I've ever experienced that personally in a show I've watched is probably Yuri on Ice, where like they never even like say the big daisuki, so like the bait part was fairly obvious. Like
it's not super common for them to use those explicit terminologies, but
right,
it can happen, and they can still find a way out of it.
I don't know.
But we'll see. I mean, this is different writers, completely different thing going on here.
The sheer problematic lesbian energy that would radiate from a Momoka Nina couple is like off the fucking charts.
Like, I mean, this happens as they're like Thelma and Louising their way out of their.
Oh yeah. They still bail from the concert. They still peel away the truck.
Right.
Like, so I don't know, man. Like
this is called the suspension bridge effect.
Yes, the delightful toxic energy that would radiate from a couple like that is.
Yeah, I mean, this is in the midst of Nina kind of explaining how much Momoka's music has meant to her, and like you can kind of see how it could go that route. But I suspect it's not going to be a big
probably
deal.
Not, but
good for
it
them,
does
though.
seem like with this episode, I don't think the problems have gone away, but it seems like we are. I think it seems like every member of the band is now locked in. If that makes sense, right? Like
they're at least moving in the same general direction.
Yes,
at this point,
we have all
Momika has been in in her attempt to just get out of talking to Diamond Dust, has kind of pushed herself back into the band.
Right, exactly.
So yeah, it's very good. It's all very good.
It's really.
I'm shocked how good this show is.
I am constantly like I am constantly caught off guard by like how good Girls Band Cry is at engaging with the themes it has thrown up.
Yeah.
And again, like it does not look that bad either. Like I know it's like the all CG thing, but like I feel like for the most part they have
the character animation's so good.
The character animation mainly, yes. Like they've done some good work with that for sure. I think again, the environments, the backgrounds, the props, yeah, but like I think the
dumb anime faces.
Yeah, a lot of good ugly crying this episode.
Yeah. Yep.
Very
good ugly crying.
Like people have already kind of been doing memes of like Nina and Momika's like really ugly crying faces in episode 8,
Right.
But
yeah, or anytime they're fighting and Subaru's trying to interject.
God, it's
just the comic timing of all that is very good.
Yeah.
But yeah. Before we go, I do need to address the guitars.
Okay.
Before we close. So Mine is playing what I believe is a Martin D28 acoustic guitar. I personally own a Martin. A lot of people feel Martin, especially people my age and older, feel Martins are the best acoustic guitars.
Okay, is that what you played earlier?
Yes, I was playing I have a Martin D15, and I was playing that.
You even make sure true to the show then.
Yeah, well, her Martin is nicer than my Martin, unsurprisingly.
Sure,
but
what you're telling me is that it is a guitar for old people.
I wouldn't say old people, but when you're playing
a classic.
You're playing older music, let's say.
Okay,
you're playing rock or country, traditional, rock country folk type of music, right? And the D28 is like the classic workhorse for a pro musician acoustic guitar. Possibly the most expensive guitar we've seen so far.
Wow, okay.
Because that's starting to push toward the 3,000 end.
Sheesh.
It's a very nice guitar though. And then I could not figure out the guitar that she gives Nina, because we don't actually see the headstock, and acoustic guitars, if you can't see the label, they kind of all look the same. Like you have to really start looking at the details, like the bindings and the bridge and stuff like that. And I couldn't quite figure out. I do appreciate that they like made it look like an old guitar. It's very like weathered. There's like stains
I
and
guess
and stuff
it will depend on if Nina playing guitar actually matters to the plot in the long run or not. Like did they just give her a guitar so we get that goofy ass Jacka John scene, or
yeah, I do have to. As I said before, I'm kind of half expecting that next episode she will just suddenly now be able to play their complex fast rhythm songs.
I mean, we already live in this world where like Nina just happens to be a preternaturally gifted vocalist, like.
Yeah,
despite being a complete amateur, so
you can kind of be a good vocalist without a whole lot of experience, because you've been using your voice your whole life, right?
Sure, that is true.
You cannot just pick up a guitar and a week later play songs that I can't play after playing guitar for 20 years.
No, you don't understand. If they show the calluses on your fingers from the week of hard work,
yes,
then it's fine.
The blood-soaked strings.
Yeah, if Nina shows up next week with bandages all over her fingers, then
exactly.
You go, wow.
Yes, the bandages. You got to have
Yeah. I think so. I have a theory with her guitar, because it's old. So we were talking about Martin guitars being the best guitars, and like one of the holy grail guitars is if you can get a Martin made before World War II, pre-war Martin.
Jeez,
when they were using the Brazilian rosewood, which does not exist anymore.
God, I love this shit.
I'm dead serious.
No, I know you're dead serious.
Holy,
that's why I love it.
The Holy Grail guitar is you get like a pre-Martin either D28 or D45 or something like that.
Oh man.
Made with Brazilian rosewood. That is considered by many people to be the best non-classical acoustic guitar that you can get.
That would be extremely funny in the context of the narrative that Mine is willing to give this amazing Holy Grail guitar to this really annoying girl she met for one weekend.
Yeah, I'm wondering if they're going for some kind of narrative where this is actually an old vintage guitar that's an amazing guitar.
Like, I don't know. I even forgot the bit where like they're like just trying to have a pleasant dinner, and Nita just brings up out of nowhere like the question like, why are you still doing creative work for a living? Like, what does it mean to you? And Subaru's like does the cutesy like, wow, where did that come from? Hey, have you watched any movies recently? And Nita just keeps talking.
Nina has zero filter, zero chill.
Yeah, it's the idea that you would give that girl your like
prized guitar.
What, like 100-year-old guitar?
Yeah. Anyway, that show's great.
Yeah, no, it's definitely I would say probably for us at least the highlight of the season for sure.
Yeah, I mean, hot take. I'm probably enjoying watching it more than Dungeon Meshi. I'm not going to say that it's better than Dungeon Meshi, like as a whole package, but for my own personal enjoyment,
I feel it because, like, I mean, you know, at least for me, anyway, Dungeon Meshi is an adaptation, whereas like Girls Band Cry, it's pretty new. So
yeah, so all right, let's talk about. I guess we forgot to throw this out in at the top, but it's fine. Let's talk about another. Is it? I guess it's new. Came out of nowhere. I don't know what. I know nothing about this, but you guys were talking about it, so let's talk about it. And it's Dead Demons DeDeDeDe Destruction.
Yes, it is.
It is a title I have seen around, but I know zero about this. So you guys will have to fill me in. Just
to give like a quick rundown, because obviously this is the first time we've talked about it. This is an adaptation of the Inyo Asano manga. Inyo Asano, you might also know for a lot of other depressing manga. You know, probably most prominently, Goodnight Pun Pun or Solanin are.
Oh, right.
Ooh, have you? So okay, that.
This is why Aquagaze was very.
Yes. I like it's always there's always one in that dude's audio work that makes you go, oh shit, he wrote that one.
Like, isn't that Aqua's profile picture or something in some places?
No, I mean I think Pun Pun was his and his point is Inyo Asano is very. I mean, I have not read his works because if I want to be depressed while reading manga, I'll just read something from Naoki Urasawa. But
there's a lot of options for that.
Yeah. But my understanding is that Inyo Asano is very well known for like being a prolific author who is quite good at kind of capturing the kind of tragic ugliness of the human soul in his works. Right, often very like damaged or conflicted characters going through some really, really rough but realistic, grounded shit.
Right.
So for that reason, I've kind of not engaged much with his work, but DeDeDeDe, as I think is the portmanteau for this, got a film adaptation that. My understanding is what we are watching is that film being broken into 18 episodes with new content being added for the TV run. And so what we have watched is episode 0, which, again, so we know nothing about this. We have not read the manga. Aqua is the only person, I think, in the GLORIO chat who has read this manga to completion. But based on episode 0, it's basically... it starts off with... it's about a single dad who works as a manga editor and kind of has a distant relationship with his young daughter. And like 5 minutes into that setup, an alien invasion starts. Our protagonist, the editor, is seemingly like caught in an explosion of some kind or some kind of collapse of buildings. And when he reawakes, it has been 8 years since the invasion. And the world is in a sort of declining post-apocalyptic state. It is it's not full Mad Max. It's probably a little bit closer to, like, say, a Heavenly Delusion of
right.
society has mostly collapsed, but like they mentioned
There's
the
still
U.S.
some
government
remnants
by
of
name, so
Right.
there are remnants of authority and government institutions, but by and large, the world is not in a good place. The world is infected with these red glowing orbs called asterisks that, as far as I can tell, just kill you on contact.
Right. Just obliterate anything they come into contact
Right,
with.
just like eat matter. We find out that our protagonist, the manga editor, we'll just call him Dad because I can't remember his name. The dad is the reason why he's woken up 8 years later is because he died that day of the invasion, but the aliens are like parasites who take over the bodies of humans, but they are not like necessarily hostile parasites like some of these two young girls who find him, like, because he wakes up basically with no recollection of what's happened, right? Like he wakes up and 8 years has passed, and he's told that for the last like few years he has been the ward for these young girls at this like encampment, and that they know that he is an alien, or they know that an alien took over his body, and they're not
so he's been like quote unquote alive but not conscious of what he's doing.
Exactly.
Okay.
And
got it.
The alien that inhabited his body left behind a message basically telling him, hey, so you were dying, and so I took over your body, and I've been inhabiting your body for the last 8 years. I'm really sorry about that. It looks like your consciousness is coming back. Your like overwhelming desire to see your daughter is like overwhelming my own consciousness. I can feel it fading away. You will probably take over this body again soon, so I'm leaving behind this message with a quick rundown of what's happened. Anyways, sorry again for taking over your body. Really, I'm really sorry about it. But anyways, best
I hope
of luck.
you find your daughter.
Yeah, and it's like, and the vibe is just like this first episode is just intentionally overwhelming you, right? It's putting you in the same mental place as the dad of like, what? Like,
well, you're telling me a lot of things that I don't understand.
You know, the girls start
process,
explaining that there's like two primary factions left in Japan. You know, it's like one is a cult that wants to like kill or study the aliens, and another wants to like protect the aliens and recognize their personhood, but they might also have like some like sinister political motives behind it. And so it's like they're just overwhelming you with all this information of like, yeah, no, they're aliens and they live amongst us and they've taken over some human bodies, but people are not like too like, the way it's talked about is like, well, you don't want to like tell everybody about it, but not because you're an alien, but more because you're an alien in a socio-political context. And
right,
it's a lot. And it kind of, you know, the dad decides now that he's gotten his memories back, he's still committed to finding his daughter. You know, like he feels bad about obviously being kind of distant with her, and then obviously now the time that has passed, he wants to find her again. And
so is he's alien free at this point, as far as we know?
Well,
am I understanding that correctly?
No, because his body was like permanently changed by the alien inhabitation. Like it's implied that he can kind of just peel his face off. Like
there's like a point of entry where the alien is, right? And so they're just like, let me check, and then they just like peel his head open, and like, yep, that thing in there's dead.
Yep, that's an alien. So it's not like he can hide it necessarily. I mean, he looks human, but like under like examination, it will
right. Even even a little bit of inspection, you can tell, right?
Yeah. So he decides to go on a sort of, I don't know, Last of Us-esque adventure, trekking on foot to Tokyo to find his daughter, and the two young girls go with him because Turns out he was the ward of 3 girls, and the 3rd girl is found dead early in the episode. By the way, a lot of dead kids in this show. So be warned. Content warning. I mean, legitimately, a lot of
don't love that. Yeah.
Everybody's like, "Damn, Last of Us! Wow, what a heavy piece of media! Wow, prestige media! Joel's daughter getting killed! Wow, so tragic." Meanwhile, DeDeDeDe is like, what, one dead kid?
Mm-hmm.
Amateur shit. Watch this. And it's pretty rough. They go on this apocalyptic adventure, but it falls apart really quickly because turns out that a guy who woke up and has amnesia after 8 years and 2 young girls are not exactly super well suited for exploring a post-apocalyptic wasteland. And
also they sold him out to some faction
one of the girls sells him out to one of those 2 factions, and that negotiation goes really badly in a really grim, harsh way to put it.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, but I cannot deny I am intrigued. I am I am caught in it. I am really curious where this goes, because this is not even getting into the real quote unquote twist, right? Which is that this episode is apparently pulling a Gundam Witch from Mercury prologue thing of the first episode being entirely unrelated to the quote unquote real plot.
Oh, we're gonna switch over to his daughter's perspective or something.
Yes. The implication,
seems like it.
The OP immediately shifts to this kind of slice of life adjacent, the daily lives of high school girls, kind of living in the countryside in the wake of an alien invasion premise. And it's very idyllic and just oh look, the girls are still going to school and playing with fireworks in summer. And I think so. What we're going to do is, because there's this 8-year gap, right, where from the dad's perspective, he died 8 years ago, woke up in the modern day, and has no clue what has happened in those 8 years. I think with episode 1, because this was technically episode 0, we are probably going to jump back 8 years in time and then follow the daughter's perspective across the 8 years that lead up to
watch
to
this
the
slow
dad's
decline.
Right, yeah, because that makes sense, because it's not like the society would immediately collapse, right? It would take some time.
The implication is that this alien invasion, this alien war, was slow and protracted. Because by 8 years after the invasion, the world has gone to shit. The world is in a bad spot, but
right.
The implication of the OP is this war took years to get that bad.
So I'm still not clear on the format. You said, so is it a OVA then, or what are we calling this?
Say it's going to get.
Yeah.
They say it's good. It's an 18 episode OVA, I guess. So yeah,
anime.
18. So it's a full
a quarter and a half. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was 2 movies that they're cutting up and adding more
2
stuff.
movies. Yes, not 1. Yes, it's 2 movies. So that is why. Yeah. So yeah, pretty lengthy. A full length show functionally.
And is it starting now, or are we gonna wait until it actually the rest of it starts?
It is. I mean, it's going to be airing week to week now.
Okay. Interesting.
But
yeah,
it's definitely kind of doing a little bit of that Heavenly Delusion thing of it's a really it's an apocalypse with a mystery angle attached to it, and I mean it kind of works on me, I guess.
different time points in time.
Yeah, exactly.
Perspective from different points of time.
Yeah. So I'm definitely I kind of want to see where this goes, to be sure.
So, Artemis, you watched some of it, and I have a feeling this will be a bit of a counterpoint. But what did you think?
I honestly don't have that much to add. I will say I watched only half an episode because I just kind of didn't care for it. Partially, I think it was my fault. I mean, arguably, you could say you have to be in the right mood for anything you want to watch, but I think for this one especially, it's just such a vibe that you really have to be
Yes, I would agree.
in the
with
right
that.
headspace for
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
and I just probably wasn't. It was like
Yeah.
1 a.m. I think. Like I was pretty sleepy. I
Mhm.
just wasn't in the right mood for it. But also I just have a thing for like even if the perspective switches, the damage has been done for male characters who just narrate the whole thing like.
Oh yeah.
Oh, by the way, the
his
protagonist.
voice, like-
he is Kenjutsu.
His voice is
Oh,
like
no,
that the
I'm
entire
out.
time, and I'm just
No,
stop,
Jail
I'm out.
It's
Right.
good.
I'm out.
Our guy came out for the.
It's came
Is he
out.
is he doing the voice?
No, he's. I mean, well, more. It's a more normal voice, but it is definitely
Okay,
that sort of
he's not doing the like.
He's not doing
I'm
the like.
evil and I
No,
have
he's
dead
not doing,
inside
like, the
voice. Yeah.
evil like slurring. But he
No,
definitely does
it's
have
the
that
it's
kind
the
of.
it's the extremely monotonous dead
Yeah,
inside
yeah.
The tired.
100% of the time.
I mean,
Okay.
voice.
he sounds like a tired old man. I guess.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know, man.
But there's just so little inflection just the whole time.
Sure. Yeah.
And it annoyed me. I
think-
gotta
I
say,
think
it
for
bothered me.
I guess it kind of worked because like him sounding like that as an overworked manga editor kind of made sense, and then just his like bewildered confusion at everything happening to him after the time skip. Like, I actually kind of preferred that he was like not apathetic, but like taking it all as just like, or he's like so overwhelmed by the information that he kind of doesn't even know how to respond to it. Which
And from what you're telling me, is he gone by the next episode? Like, is that what they're
Unclear.
implying?
unclear.
Or unclear. Okay. All right. Well, that's tough, man.
And I will also add that this is the other show that I can tell right away that again Crunchyroll is going to aggressively shove it in my face. I'm gonna resent the fact that this is happening, thus putting me off even more from watching further.
Yeah, I haven't seen it on there yet, but I haven't really looked yet. But yeah, I'm kind of like, I feel like this is especially as I get older. Like Artemis was saying, I really need to be like in the frame of mind to watch something like this.
Yeah,
like
I will say,
as I get older and I want my anime to be more fun and silly and escapism. I have to like really like even so that's the okay, so here's a question. We mentioned Heavenly Delusion. Heavenly Delusion, like 70% of the time is not that serious. Like
Right.
It has its lighthearted moments.
So this is the part where I again, none of us have read the manga. This is probably one of those things where Aqua is probably screaming at us right now if he's listening
you're right.
to this podcast. I will try to paraphrase, I think, what he has said, which is that other than this prologue, my understanding, based on what he has said, is that the manga mostly is focusing on these sort of slice of life, like day-to-day, like the day-to-day lives of the daughter's perspective, these girls who have to kind of like live in the wake of this alien invasion, but like kind of focuses more on like how children don't really have a full perspective on these things, and thus like kind of don't like are not as like affected by, if that makes sense, right? Like
Right.
They're
it's
still
like,
trying to
Haha, so weird. There's a alien ship in the sky.
like it's kind of doing the thing of like kids will still play in the park even when bombs are dropping like 100 miles away, right? It's kind of doing that thing, and so like my understanding is it's more like bittersweet and melancholy of like watching these children try to like live their lives and hold on to their innocence in spite of these sort of like inevitable like upheaval that is coming, because we know what happens 8 years after the invasion.
Right.
Yeah, I mean that sounds more palatable to me, especially if there's no Kenjiro Suda. But
right, like based on what I've been told, like it is not like this first episode is very much intentionally trying to overwhelm you. Like it is not the kind of show where they're gonna like fucking shoot a kid on screen every week or something.
Yeah, get that out of their system in the first episode. Okay. Well, I mean, I'm certainly intrigued because I mean, it sounds like that has like potential to be good.
It's definitely one of those types of shows where, like, again, I could, I cannot vouch for how it goes or how it ends, but it's like it is definitely, at least for me, anyways. When I watch a show with this kind of premise executed to this degree, I gotta be real. The sicko in me is like hooked, man. I'm like, hell fucking yeah, let's go. Like, what kind of awful shit is gonna happen to these people?
Yeah. Iro, how did you feel about it?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. I feel like I need to see the quote unquote real form of the show to really get a handle on it. Because
make sure
Akage said that this portion of the story is from the final volume or something that they're adapting that they put at the front.
Yeah,
and so which I'm like,
interesting.
Okay. So I don't know.
That's a choice.
I'll have to see if the Teen Girl Squad main cast or whatever will interest me enough, right?
I think that is an important caveat to make, right? Is because here's the thing. I'm fucked up. I could watch 18 episodes of this horrible post-apocalyptic alien invasion anime, and I'd be totally locked in. But like, I know it's not that. So it's like, are the 16 episodes of girls hanging out in the countryside good enough?
Right.
It's going to be a Oshinoko situation.
Yeah.
Whether you liked Oshinoko or not, the whole like the give me the prologue that has nothing to do with the tone with like what's happening for the rest of the series. Okay. Well, we'll keep an eye on that. Something to add to our thinning list of shows here. So maybe I'll try to check that out before next time. All right. Well, let's talk about. What was that, G?
No, just I'm looking at the next show on the list and just thinking. I was about to say on a brighter note, but I was like,
no.
Actually,
speaking of bombs dropping.
God. Speaking of dead kids.
Speaking of dead kids, oh my god. Let's talk about Tonari no Yokai-san.
Dude, what is this show, man?
Going some places these past 2 episodes.
Unexpected.
Did they have they gone too far as far as like there's a lot of tragedy in these 2 episodes that almost becomes comical. There's so much.
I cannot lie. I kind of started laughing in the latest episode, like when like Buchio cries for like the 7th time on screen. Like,
you know what
he's
got
a sensitive soul.
He's a sensitive little baby. I get it, but I'm also like, dude, you cry in every situation.
You know what got me is so going into the first episode. They're playing a lot with what they introduced at the end of the last time we talked, the concept of, I guess, the fleeting nature of life, whether you're human or yokai here, right? And they kind of come back to, you know what? When I was watching the first of these 2 episodes, I was like, man, what are the odds that the dude with the goofy car head was going to have the most tragic backstory, which immediately gets supplanted in the next episode, but...
But yeah, so, I mean, you could say the general theme that maybe Tonari no Yokai-san is focusing on now is like, this is a world in which people have different lifespans. Like, it is not as clear-cut as just yokai live longer and humans don't, but it is very much getting to this idea that everybody in this world must eventually come to terms with the fact that, like, some people live the standard human lifespan. Some of these people are functionally immortal, and some people might live even shorter than that, right? Like, it's not even a guarantee that the yokai live longer than humans, and
because they may have other conditions, like this guy's wife who, if like the tree died that she was attached to or something, then she dies, right? So,
and so it's like it kind of gets into this idea of like, how do you make the best of the time you... For those with the shorter lifespans, how do you make the best of the time you have on this planet? And for those with the longer lifespans, how does one cope with
the memories of that you accumulate over time?
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, they got to do that with Wagen-kun, right? The anthropomorphized Volkswagen
car.
Yeah, it's a pretty sad backstory. I mean, it's
they basically play the beginning of the movie Up.
Oh yeah, you beat me to it. It's literally Up. It's like the first 10 minutes Up, except what if like car came to life, which actually, you know what, that feels like something Pixar would have done.
Yes,
But
it's very Pixar.
You know, and it works. It works pretty well because it all ties into like then Bucchio's own like kind of, you know, conception
Ongoing,
of, like,
yeah.
I think the issue isn't that it works or doesn't work. Like, it works, but is it the show that we all wanted?
So I mean, this is the thing about this
Cause,
kind of
right, because I think that's probably the main criticism I would have of Tonari no Yokai-san is that this show is all over the place.
All over the place,
Like,
right? Like, let's not forget that like 3 episodes ago, like they got like a character got isekai'd into a different world, and then Nerve showed up in a van and was like, "Don't worry, we'll bring him back with our like super secret government portal program."
And then in this episode, for like 2 minutes, the Demon King sends God, what's the cat's name?
Bucchio.
I was going to say Pochi.
You were about to say Pochi.
I was about to say Pochi. What's his name?
Bucchio.
Bucchio.
To England.
The Demon King sends Bucchio to England, where they're casually like, "Oh yeah, everyone in England can use magic."
You know, if Zig were here, I'm sure he would say that sounds appropriate for the Demon King to send someone to England.
Yeah, and everybody can, and like it has almost no relevance to anything other than, I guess,
that's the thing. I thought this was going to be like a full episode or more
about
in
like
the setting.
Yeah,
when they drop that magic is just so commonplace that you go to a cafe to have your magical tea.
Their
depiction of England is like so goofy. It's like, I mean, you know, we have talked about Anime America, like, where it's like all cowboys and hot dogs and, you know, like...
Yeah. This is Japan's version of like, you know, like this is what Harry Potter would be like if it was like just so commonplace that everyone, like, but only in England.
Yeah, you know, it's like there's just like Ents walking around, you know, like...
Right.
Yeah.
Like there's a big magical library where like books
ancient,
are floating.
Ancient Magus Bride, but if it wasn't all secret or whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
exactly,
I think what they're going
is based upon a magical system of vocal incantations.
Yeah,
of course, because that's just their culture.
Yeah, I think what they were going for is like part of the hook of this show is supposed to be like, what if it's trying to be kind of practical in like, what if yokai really existed?
I mean,
but this kind of went.
I just want to go back to people bitching about paying their yokai taxes. You know,
like,
that's what I was wanting from this.
You know, I just wanted to watch this living car. Be like, man, it's fucked up. I got to get a driver's license. I'm a car.
Yeah,
but
and instead we get. And the thing is, like, this has not been the show up to now. Just these 2 episodes, they decided to drop these like huge. Tragic, whatever.
They do kind of start setting up some of this stuff, right? Because they keep going back to God, what's the girl's name? The little girl, the little girl who has a crush on Jiro.
Muchan.
Muchan. I mean, that's what Jiro calls her, right? She Mutsu. I think like she, you know, they kind of get into this like she clearly like has very strong feelings for Jiro, and you know, Jiro's kind of like personal struggle is that we kind of find out that he has had a long, you know, he is the longest living yokai we have seen on screen, right? Like the implication is he has been around for a very long time, and he has a shared history with Mutsu's family. In fact, he has like
he knows her mother and her grandmother and her great grandmother, and
and like has been like bore witness to the like deeply personal tragedies of that family. And in some regards, Jiro kind of almost like has to emotionally distance himself from that family for his own sanity, essentially. Like, like having watched so many terrible things happen to this family.
Yeah, because the kind of the focus of the second half of this latest episode is Jiro remembering their great grandmother, right?
Yes,
who has an almost comically tragic life story.
Yeah, like she, like,
and
it's
then
implied,
he was there to support her through it all. But
because like it's implied that even her, I feel like it's even implied here that like the great grandma also maybe had a crush on Jiro, right? But like got married off in an arranged marriage, right? And like And like this is all happening with this universe, like despite the fact that magic is real and yokai are real, World War II still happens in this universe.
Yeah, and instead of
And-
atomic bombs, they have dragons.
Okay.
So this is the part of me where I was like, hell yeah, to the first episode of DeDeDeDe. This is the part where I go, I kind of want to see I kind of want to see more of what World War II looked like in this universe.
Magic Yokai World War II looks like.
Yeah, like if what they're implying with that one cutaway shot is that in this world the Americans didn't drop a nuclear bomb, but instead formed a pact with a dragon.
Yep.
I kind of want to see. Maybe
they formed a pact with the dragon, and the dragon just taught them about nuclear technology, and then everything went.
Oh, dude, they actually
the
see the dragon. They see the dragon flying with the airplanes in the sky.
And it's explicitly a Western style dragon.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
Isone Masotan getting crazy.
I know, but so yeah, kind of basically the tragedy is like that. Mutsu's great grandmother loses her husband, loses her first child, has a second child, but obviously, and then
you forgot her mother dying on her wedding day or something.
Oh yes, her mother dies on her wedding day, and then she herself gets killed in like an earthquake, and
yes.
Jiro
and Jiro is carrying the weight of this because he like remembers everything,
right? Because Jiro was there for every single one of these events, and like a first-hand witness, and kind of like the vibe is like the weight of this is like the curse of like immortality is that these memories don't go away, they just compound. Like with every passing generation is just another tragedy to add to the board, and yeah, it's like. Damn, remember when Buccio was like filling out tax forms?
Getting his driver's license and Yuri was running our laundromat, fun times. Yeah, I felt like it was too much in a small amount of time for me, I think.
It's a lot to throw in a short period, yeah.
Yeah, it was hard to like swallow all of that and take it serious. And especially I don't know, man. When okay, when they're having this very serious scene, this is going back to episode 7, I think, with Wagon-kun. They're having this very serious bit where his I don't want to say owner, I think partner is the term they use. His former owner is trying to ask Buccio to look after Wagon-kun when he dies or whatever.
Yeah.
And Wagon-kun gets really upset that he would ask this and storms off. And the guy's like, it's okay. He went to his usual place. And then he walks out to the garage. I just lost it at that part.
I think it was off-street parking, but sure.
Okay, it looked like a garage or whatever. Okay. But I mean, the fact that that's his secret spot that he goes to or whatever.
Like, it's so...
And then he goes back into car form, but he's still crying, and you have the tears coming off of his headlights.
Yeah.
And I was like, how am I supposed to take... And this is deadly serious. 110% deadly serious. Yeah. This is not a joke. And I'm like, how am I supposed to take this seriously right now?
It's played to the hilt. And it's tough because, like, I guess the nicest thing I can say about this, like, the show is so sincere about the stories it's trying to tell. Like, it clearly, it clearly really wants to tell you like a story about like these people's lives and struggles, but
it's not like cynical or anything. It's a very positive message. And like, I'm on board with what what they're saying, but
a lot of these instances would work fine on their own, but pushed all together.
Yeah, that too. Yep.
It's just really
edges into like melodrama.
It's not even a tonal problem. It's just
so much at once.
Yeah, it's just a lot.
You get into
you become numb to it, right? Like
because you have Wagon-kun's thing, and then the next episode you go right into great grandma's super combo of tragedies that are like,
and then with like a 2-minute England thing, like.
With 2 minutes of magic theme park England in
for 20 minutes of.
Next episode, we're going to go back 8 years, and
And then in the background, we still have the missing dad. We still have an evil teacher running around sealing kids at school or something. Wasn't that a thing?
I don't know. And then there's also like that throwaway, like also then there's like the throwaway like romance drama of like, oh no, the Kappa girl and the boy,
the Kappa girl,
have a misunderstanding, and it's like
they like threw that in there.
It's randomly. Like this show is, and I'm watching this episode, and I'm just thinking, were the Ents at Normandy? like did were the Ents present at the landing of Normandy? Like, or would the seawater have been like prohibitive to their powers? You know, like if you had to storm Normandy, which yokai and or supernatural beings would be best suited for the task? You know,
the world building is pretty good when they get
like. I don't think centaurs would be well suited. There's a centaur in the 2-minute England section, and I'm thinking, wonder what a centaur would do in the age of industrialized warfare. You know, like
right, and you know that even with the best of intentions, like there is no way that this show can.
No, it won't.
There's the kind of backstory that would be needed to flesh out this world in a cohesive manner.
Yes, it's just where my brain goes because like the show is so all over. Like in some regards, it's like I kind of like all the individual moments it has worked with, but like I think it could maybe help if it kind of focused on one, like if it just focused on Jiro's like feelings of eternal life, or just focused on the missing dad story, or just, you know, Buccio's like, you know, his introduction to the yokai world. But like juggling this many plot lines at once is it's a lot. It's a tough task at hand.
Yeah, it's a lot of good pieces, and then they're just kind of jumbled all together in a way that doesn't always mix or make sense.
Yeah. And it's not that this show itself is not capable of putting it all together. I just don't think any show would be. Like it's just enough. I think it's just enough, way more than it can chew.
At some point, you're doing too much. You got to focus. Yeah, but you know, it still has it has carved a soft spot in my heart. I think.
Definitely. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I'm just like, if nothing else, I'm just curious about how on earth this is gonna all resolve itself by.
Yeah.
What? How many episodes do we have?
4 episodes left, or
4
something.
Episodes. Yeah. It's. I'm not going to stop watching for sure. I'm enjoying it, but I'm not enjoying it necessarily for the same reasons that I started out with.
I'm not anticipating a nice clean ending.
There's also my worry that like if the Jiro's soul gets stolen by the vengeful snake spirit arc is any indication, and I use arc with heavy scare quotes. My worry is like, is this all just going to get resolved in like the next episode? Because like that's historically what Tonari no Yokai
kind of been what they've been doing.
Is like, you know, Yuri's drama with her family solved in half an episode. The snake spirit, half an episode. You know, Yuri getting isekai to another world, half an episode. Like
Nerve shows up with their magic USB stick and fixes everything.
Yeah, like these like conflicts don't even last that long, which is also kind of maybe what makes it feel weird. Is that they introduce these like fairly heavy, pretty grounded conflicts, and then resolves them like almost comically fast.
Right. So some of these plot lines could have been half a season of anime, right?
Yeah.
Like it's a lot. So. Anyway, it's a fascinating show, and I like where their heart's at, but it's a mess. But you know, we'll keep watching. All right, G, you got anything for the Blue Archive update?
I'll make this quick. It's still that
Bunny Girls.
No, afraid not, Hero. No. Gehenna showed up. They did the whole like the arc where like the prefects show up in Abydos to like steal Sensei or whatever, or the premise is to capture Problem Solver 68, but you know it's plots within plots. You know, Iori is there. You know, she kind of gets to actually be cool for a little bit instead of job like she does in every other event that I've read. You know, she kind of single-handedly takes out the Abydos school, which is kind of fun. As befitting of like Once Upon a Time, the strongest yellow damage student. I regret to say that, unlike Aru, she has been quickly power crept out of relevance in the years since.
Yeah, I think she was already starting to get power crept in my days.
Yeah. Once Mika became playable, that was kind of like the final nail in the Iori coffin. Yeah. But and then they're doing the final. They're doing what they're doing, right? They're setting up the final part of the Abydos plot line, which is that in classic anime form, Hoshino, the sleepy pink-haired girl, is secretly the strongest one of them all, and she has some secret bloodline powers or whatever that the bad guys want to get a hold of, and so she signs a deal with the new mysterious bad guy in exchange for clearing away the school's debt. It's a Sasuke retrieval arc. It's the hero. It's the member of the crew willingly leaves the good guys, thinking that to save them. Well, okay, Sasuke didn't do that to save them, so maybe it's not really a Sasuke retrieval arc. It's a point is it's the rest of the crew has to team up to save their Nakama.
Yes, of course.
There was a nice little bit where it's like they, because it's an anime, when they're talking about Hoshino's, like, the rumors of Hoshino's backstory about how she was, like, called, like, the rabid dog of Abydos when she was a first year. And how she was, like, this, like, sallow-eyed Black Lagoon tactical, like, operator, like, mega killer with a shotgun.
Was that in the game? I don't remember that.
It's implied in the game. Actually, they're actually tying in plotline stuff that just got introduced on the Korean client, like, last month.
Okay.
They're finally, like, I think they're finally, as of this year, getting to Hoshino's backstory of, like, how she was, like, the hardest core super killer who ever lived. And then, like, as happens with waifus, was destroyed by deeply personal trauma, and like Majima, became haha goofy sleepy girl to cope with the pain. Mm-hmm. Anyways, they imply a little bit of that in the anime, because it's like, oh, I guess that is one thing an adaptation could do, is like tie in things that weren't like there in the original story when it was first being like written. Like, it's like, oh well, now we can bring in elements of that have been written since the original plot line. Right. And so, you had to see a short scene of her with short hair and tactical gear, like, well, not killing, because nobody dies in this world, but shooting a bunch of schoolgirls with her shotguns. So
right.
But yeah, I don't know. Otherwise, yeah, it's fine. It's it occasionally has a couple of like kind of fun fire, like anime gun kata moments. It's definitely not a Girls Frontline tier disaster like on a production level, but also those moments are kind of few and far between. It kind of mostly operates around average to mediocre with the occasional, like, cool moment.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like, if I was like more invested in the story, maybe I'd have stronger feelings about how they're handling this as an adaptation. I occasionally look in to see what other Blue Archive fans are saying, and it seems to be a lot of like, oh, that fight wasn't as cool as I imagined it in my head, or, oh, they butchered this scene, and I'm like,
yeah.
Y'all are complaining about a gotcha storyline,
Right.
It's a gotcha storyline. How good can it be?
Well,
occasionally decent. I mean,
no, that's a Stockholm syndrome talking. I'm sorry.
No. See,
I'm still gonna
the Bellabog storyline in Honkai Star Rail was.
I'm gonna still claim that. I'm going to still claim that Honkai Star Rail is the one game you could make an anime adaptation out of and it would work, but that actually has a pretty solid story. But anyway, all right, still trucking along then, basically. Okay. Let's move on and conclude. I've put it in our honored final spot. Let's talk about Dungeon Meshi, aka Dungeon.
Dungeon Meshi.
Dungeon Meshi.
So, I guess the first of these two episodes is mostly the introducing Izutsumi to the gang, right? Or kind of,
right?
blending her into
yes,
I think my most memorable moment out of this episode when she's like, "Who would get excited about seeing a naked?" I'm like, "Oh, you have not been on the internet.
Yes,
this is pre. This is clearly pre-internet. But yes, Yeah, we got to get her blending into the team chemistry here.
Yep.
Yeah.
As the new person who doesn't want to eat monsters. And Marcel gets to graduate as the person who wants to eat monsters slightly less or more or whatever.
As with every time a sixth ranger joins in Sentai, like Izutsume has to have a moment with every other character,
Yes.
or like one-on-one kind of, right?
I think the thing that works with Izutsume, right, is like she is a cat girl with a heavy emphasis on the cat part. Like she very much behaves like a cat almost more than a human. Like just very capricious, very flighty, like has basically no sense of loyalty.
Right.
Yeah, cats are great.
And,
love cats.
Yes, integrating her into the group. We get another good Laios barking like a dog moment.
Yeah.
that might be the header image this week. We'll see.
Yeah,
I got to go through my screenshots.
Yeah, they kind of added. It wasn't in the original manga. I like that they added because it's a small panel in manga, but in the anime they kind of have the reaction of the wolves being like,
"What's with this guy?
What's with this guy?
Yeah,
we're out of here. Take the sheep and leave."
Yeah.
So these two episodes, I watched them like back to back earlier, so like they're kind of blending together for me. Did we get the Kabru bit in the first episode or the second episode?
That's in the second. Yeah.
Okay. Right. So the first episode was pretty much all the Itsuzume.
Dude, I thought it was Itsuzume for ages. I just I didn't read the word Izutsume.
Izutsume, right?
I thought it was Itsuzume
It's a bit of a mouthful, yeah. But,
right, so that was her kind of making the rounds with the rest of the party and kind of blending.
Very good that like when they're all like in the sauna, like Laios is the only one blindfolded because they can't trust him to be normal around Izutsume. Like everybody else is fine, right? Like everyone's fine.
Later when he sees the Minotaur.
Let me milk a Minotaur.
I mean, the Minotaur scene is almost justifying why they blindfolded him.
This
man can't be trusted.
And
you kind of see it from his point of view with like glistening.
Yes.
But it's I guess the second episode was probably the more like plot relevant. Yes, we're kind of seeing a bit of here, right? So Kabru and Shiro go to the Lord's Manor to report on it, and unfortunately we are introduced to the Canaries, the elves. They are already here, and they have already been negotiating with the Lord. And
yes, the much built up Western elves, right?
Yes, they are kind of the first responders to the elven first responders to dungeons, basically. When dungeons start getting too big or too dangerous, the elves come in to clean up the messes that the shorter-lived races make, essentially.
With very much a shoot first, ask questions later mentality.
Very much so, yes. They feel, because in a lot of ways you're kind of meeting the first, like, quote-unquote, like, I mean, obviously Marcel is an elf, and, but she's like a neurotic one and kind of a goober. Like, the thing you kind of get with, like, meeting these elves is like, oh, this is like... These are elves from the Empire, these are sent.
They did not come to play.
These are your proper imperious, haughty elves.
And you can already immediately feel the social power differential kind of happening here, right? Like, like they basically don't even see the other races as equals or as sapient almost. It's like...
It's not real.
And even to say they've come to negotiate is a pretty big stretch, considering that their version of negotiation is just pressure until the poor guy is just like, just fucking do what you want. Leave me alone.
This is kind of where Kabru comes into play, right? Because we find out this episode that his town was also, you saw the montage of it when he ate the omelet, but like his town was also destroyed by a dungeon, and he was taken in by the elves. So he kind of knows.
That's where he learned how to murder people with such skill.
And he knows how they think and how they
play their game. And but we kind of leave off on the negotiation, right? Kabru is basically trying to stall for time, right? To buy Laios and the party time to delve the dungeon, because the Canaries just kind of want to, as you say, shoot first. They kind of want to just go in there and like start blasting, right? So
So okay. I am willing to give this show the benefit of the doubt, but
Mm.
I am currently not seeing how bringing in the elves is adding anything to the show. Like, I understand they're trying to like apply pressure, I guess, but they kind of already have enough incentive to move quickly with trying to figure out a way to save Fallon, right? Like, so I don't know. It feels like we're expanding the scope for no reason to me, and maybe I'll see how this pans out and ties things together later or whatever, but as presently constituted as I'm watching this episode, I'm like, what? Why are we doing this? Like, what is this adding to the?
I think at this point, the introduction of the elves is kind of meant to sort of maybe give context to like the danger of dungeons themselves, like.
Right.
Like, not just the dungeon as a den full of monsters, but more like that dungeon, the very existence of dungeons represent like a greater threat to the world, right? Because, like Kabru tells us that, once like the monsters don't just stay on the first, second, third floor forever, right? If we think of the dungeon as an ecology, right? Then as the ecology grows, would it not naturally make sense that eventually the things that are living in the dungeon spill out of the dungeon?
Yeah.
Right.
And I feel like I kind of knew that already. So like, it's like my concern is we only got so much screen time left.
Yes. Boy, yes. Gene and I have had lengthy discussions on where is the anime gonna cut. Because
and while I would not be shocked if this just ends and say see you for the next season, whenever that airs. We're running out of time, and they just introduced a lot of characters with unique character designs that are going to be demanding screen
time.
The
thing I would say to keep in mind about the Canaries for now is just that they are very much a season 2 hook. Like. I would not worry too much about like, do I got to remember the names and motivations of all these new characters, as much as just, hey, the story has evolved, the status quo has shifted in ways that will probably become more obvious and apparent in a.
But then
a later.
The next question becomes, okay, let's see. We get another season or 2 or whatever. Do I want to be spending more time with them and not with our party that I like?
Right.
So this is the part where I say, I love that you're reacting this way, because this is exactly how the manga fan base reacted to the introduction of the Canaries.
Yep. I remember. I was there. I was like, oh man, I don't want to hang out with these guys.
Okay.
Right.
So you don't have to say anymore because you know what happens, but given your very positive reception on the rest of the manga, I will just assume that I should give them the benefit of the doubt. But that was what I was thinking as I was watching this episode. Right. I'm like, okay, we're spending a lot of time. Like I understand wanting to kind of add the context of how, dangerous the dungeons are. That's fine. But like, it's just how much time are you spending on that? And bringing in a cast of like 10 new characters with their own special character designs, which means they're going to have to be on screen at some point.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm like, we already had like, 2 other adventuring parties
added Kabru and Furo's party.
Jell,
we still need to get back to them.
Jell, what if I told you like 3 of those Canaries are different flavors of evil woman?
Sure. Yes, I'd love to see more Tade as well, but
oh man.
But yeah,
we can pick and choose here.
We can leave it there for now, because I don't think the Canaries will be that prominent for the rest of the show's run. It's kind of just more important to have them here and kind of represent what they're here for. But like we can leave it there for now. I think the other half of this that's probably kind of interesting, right, is the part where Laios kind of finally reveals the quote unquote hallucinations he's been having to the rest of the party. And,
yes.
They all get
which was by far and away the best part of that episode.
Yeah, it's very good. It's just
the ghost is like, I knew you could hear me, asshole.
It just flashes back to the last 3 episodes where it just like, the ghost has been there the whole time trying to get Laios' attention.
And he's just been staring off into the distance, ignoring it.
It's very good, yeah. Just like thinking retroactively all those previous episodes, someone was talking in Laios' ear the whole time.
Yeah, but that was very good.
But yeah, finally takes up the ghost on the offer, and they get dragged into the Golden Kingdom. And this is kind of where we discover a little bit more about maybe the nature of what created this dungeon, right? The motivations of the lunatic magician or mad sorcerer.
This is your follow-up to the living paintings, kind of, right?
We kind of find out that the kingdom, right? If you remember at the very beginning of this anime, this dungeon was discovered because an old man who claimed to be the king of a golden kingdom said that if anyone could reach the bottom of the dungeon and defeat the sorcerer, they would become king. And this was his kingdom, right? We are finding here frozen in stasis, right? Kind of the people who live here are immortal. They cannot age, they cannot die, they do not need food or drink. And also, to Laios's joy, they tend to monsters, right? They have domesticated monsters, right, for all of their needs, and
right. And they kind of set it up as the too good to be true utopia kind of thing, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, like they kind of get it to like, by not needing to eat or drink, they've lost their sense of taste, right? Like many of them seem to just like, they like Senshi gets at it, right? They work because if they didn't, they would lose their minds, right? Like they have to do these repetitive tasks because it's a thing for your brain to focus on. I've been brewing beer for 400 years. I've been making weird avant-garde outfits for 500 years.
Oh yeah, that was the other good.
Yeah, Marcial
gets like a high fashion moment.
It's so good because it's like it's a thing, right? Like you see these like dirt farming medieval peasants, and they're like, oh, we like to make dresses, and it's like you're thinking, oh, okay, like
galaxy dress.
It's a dress straight out of like Gankatsu or something like that.
Well, it has like a twinkling star texture on it.
So with like pointy shoulders that reach like a couple feet above her. Yeah,
it's so funny. Yeah, just look, they've been down there for a really long time.
A lot of hot Senshi fan service in these episodes.
Yeah, a lot of shirtless Senshi lounging on the bed. It's very funny.
When they're like, wait, he can take his helmet off?
Yeah.
That comes off.
Yeah, it's very good. But
yeah, we kind of I feel like this back half is kind of meant to sort of, and in a lot of ways, this half is also setting up a season 2, right? Of like kind of introducing you to like the grander stakes of Dungeon Meshi.
Right.
The what's his name? Yad, the sort of leader of the community wants, says there's a prophecy, of a man bearing a winged sword, will become the king or whatever. And what do you know? Laios our good old Laios perfectly fits that description.
Yep.
Laios the king.
With his freshly winged sword.
King Laios. Are y'all ready for King Laios?
Oh, yoy. Yep.
So it did feel a lot like setting us up for other things, and more so than. I mean, things happened. I mean, obviously,
they definitely do, but it's like it's a lot of. But it's definitely a lot of setup. I feel like this
creating broader context and stakes for getting to the bottom of the dungeon beyond just save Fallon ?
Right, like the saving Fallon thing is obviously still priority 1, but it's like it's almost like classic fantasy where it's like this seemingly minor personal goal has now expanded into this
tangled us into got us entangled in a bunch of other things.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's all still very good for sure.
Also just like because like there's some sort of spell that pacifies the monsters, like it also has pacified Izutsumi.
Yes.
Right.
I think maybe my favorite joke in this episode is Izutsumi's very affectionate around Marcial, right? Purring and kneading and all that stuff, and Laios tries to pet her and gets batted away.
Yes.
Laios looks so offended by it. He's like standing in the corner staring at his hand. Some like fucking, I don't know, Shinji and End of Evangelion shit or something. Just like...
they still managed to fit in some really great jokes and just the general charm of the show. I just my years of watching many other anime have raised some flags.
Understandable.
I think
Understandable.
that's fair. Yeah.
Moving into this latest episode. So, but yeah, the show's hasn't let me down so far. So I'm willing to give benefit of the doubt.
I think that is fair. Yeah, I think if nothing else, Dungeon Meshi is a show worthy of the benefit of the doubt.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that is the end of our list.
Oof.
That will do it for this episode. Somehow we still managed to get over 2 hours on these, even though we have less and less shows every time. But hey, we said what we need to say, so let's wrap things up with our housekeeping. You can check us out at theglorioblog.com. You can follow us over on co-host at GLORIO. You can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Amazon Music, Podbean, Stitcher, and of course YouTube, where you can like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell, all those good things. Tell your friends, tell your enemies, and we'll catch everybody next time.